Well, hello and welcome to the Lending Podcast. We are your hosts. I am Jeff Jones, and this is the infamous JB Guru Mortgage. We're here in Austin, Texas, and we have our favorite podcast called the Lending Podcast. This is going to be our 27th episode. JB and I were talking, okay, we've done quite a bit of topics. What do we do now? And honestly, we feel like in this day and age, in the transactions we're seeing, there is an elevated sense of drama going on. And drama mean high anxiety, really a lot of frustrations. Feels like most deals are harder than they used to be. And we really have been seeing ourselves kind of as that like bartender kind of, barbershop kind of consultant of like, hey, no worries, we got this. We have a way to solve these challenges. And we're trying to really de-escalate that on our end so that it is more of a smooth process, more of a joyful process as much as it can be. So closing with less drama is our topic today.
Yeah. I mean, buying a house should be fun. It should be fun. There are
Right.
some parts of the process that are challenging, and there are parts of the process that are maybe a little frustrating at times because you're not doing this on a daily basis, right? Like, how
Right.
often are you buying a home? How often are you making a really major purchase? This isn't going out to eat at a nice restaurant,
Right.
and trying something new at a new place. This is buying your new home. So I
Yeah.
think what we were talking off camera is we have to slow down to speed up. Sometimes we have to slow down. We live in such a fast-paced society. We
Right.
live in a DoorDash, Uber Eats, fast food society, and everything really is at our fingertips, on our handheld. We can get the information we need. We can order what we need. We can have Amazon same day. It's not even tomorrow. You can have what
Mm-hmm.
most items same day delivery if you order it early enough in the day.
Right.
So this process, as important as it is, has not the industry has not progressed as fast as technology has. Now, there are a ton of advancements. There are a ton of technological advancements that have really helped streamline the mortgage industry, but I'd say we're still behind,
Yeah,
right?
I 100% agree. I feel like, and that is a part of the anxiety factor is there's so much information readily available on our phones and on our computer screens, right? But to distill that information into what does this mean for me is very confusing when it comes to something you only do once every 7 years or
Right.
4 years,
On average, right?
and you're draining your bank account, and your kids are going to go into a bedroom you're not sure is safe for them, and you don't know anything about the neighborhood at night. You're worried about what it's like to walk your dog. Are the schools good? Is the seller taking me for more money than I should give them? Am I getting the best rate? And what's our monthly payments? How are we going to make this monthly budget? So there's so many thousands of questions
Mm-hmm.
that create anxiety in our heads, and then we look online for answers, and it's just too much information,
There's
right?
a lot.
So you're getting overloaded with information, you're getting overloaded with emotion because it's your home. It's not just this car that you can trade in or whatever it might be. It's something you're going to live in for a while,
Yeah, and I
right?
think I think
So
for most folks, especially if you have not bought a home before, the next largest purchase down is a car, right? And
right,
so that's it. You went into the dealership, and let's face it, you probably spent all day on Saturday, right, or on a weekday,
right,
or the certain dealerships that may be open Sunday and not open Saturday, whatever. But you're there all day. I mean, you're talking to the salesperson, you're test driving the car, you're going through the numbers, you're doing the financing piece. You walk out of there with the keys. Buying a house is not like that. So
no,
it's the only other um, example of a large purchase I think that a lot of our clients have. And they think, well, gosh, it took me 6 hours to get my car, or 2 hours. Or I bought my car online and they delivered it to me.
oh
How
yeah,
easy was that? And that happens now, right?
right,
And so it's been happening for a long time. And so our industry is
mm-hmm.
advancing, but still highly, highly
Yeah,
regulated. A lot of compliance, a lot of fair lending laws, things that we're really working towards, helping our clients overcome their challenges to put them in the right loan. And so our job as home loan strategists is to navigate you through that, through all those different options. That doesn't happen in one day. in many cases,
It
right? So,
doesn't. And the amount of information that people are going to be getting, so when you have your consultation with your realtor, they're doing intakes, trying to figure out what you want, putting together, a search query for you to look at houses, going to look.
mhm.
You guys are having thousands of conversations about that. When you talk to your lender, you're having another, you know, I don't know how many minutes,
Yeah,
hundreds of minutes
yeah, right,
together
right.
to go over loan scenarios, loan terms, document requests, all that kind of details of what you need to sign, what you need to pay. Um, and so you as a buyer, you're getting inundated with what to do, how to do it, and so just digesting all that, we don't expect everybody to remember our conversations. I'm hoping they remember the basics of like the bulks of like, make sure we do this, make sure we do that. This is how we have a smooth close. But all in all, like we were talking about, like, who is this episode for? And it's really for kind of a team approach. In a perfect world, once you go into contract and we navigate the closing process, you know, the best form of communication is clear and to everyone all at once and to
Mhm.
everyone together to ask questions. So kind of a back and forth. That's almost impossible. There are times when we have three-way calls with realtor, loan officer, buyer, and those are the best because then we all are on the same page all at once about how to structure the offer,
No question.
the
Mhm.
terms, if something comes up, how to renegotiate it, what does that do for the loan, what does it do for the borrower's monthly payment. So problem solving with three people, like the lender, the realtor, and the buyer, all on the same page all at once, is the best. It's really hard to do sometimes.
It is.
Easier to do with technology if people are open for it, but that means you want a lender that's accessible, you want a realtor that's accessible, and a buyer that's somewhat proactive of making those parties be
Mhm.
accessible.
I'm going to boil it down to one word. I think it's trust.
Yeah,
I think it's trust. That's truly the word that embodies this home buying process for you
right,
as a real estate professional, as a buyer. You need to trust your team.
right,
You've got to have good people around you to help navigate you through this gauntlet, if you will, and that's super important. Now, where do you build trust? How do you build trust? You build trust through phone conversations, sit downs at the office, not through text and email. Like that to me is the supplement to communication. The written words is like the documentation of the conversation. We're documenting what we're talking
right.
about. We're having a conversation, we're going through everything, we're having that trust, building conversation. And then in an email, we're maybe given bullet points of, okay,
Yeah,
here's the next steps, right? But if everything's automated and AI driven, text and email, there's no trust there, or the trust is in a platform like a technological platform that isn't going to be intuitive on what's going on in your life to help you achieve your goals. It's just a checkbox, and we don't do checkboxes here. We've got to build. We want to build a relationship. That's what it comes down to.
we do. And we want the buyer that, buying a house, the most benefit should be for the buyer and the seller. It shouldn't be for the realtor. It shouldn't be for the loan officer. It shouldn't be for title. It should be for the buyer and the seller.
That's right.
So what's tricky is when things happen.
Yep.
Say a house inspection brings up an issue, you know, and things need to get renegotiated on the contract. Well, you want a direct line between the realtor and the lender, the realtor that's representing the buyer and the lender that's representing the money and structuring those loans. Because what happens is, seller concessions can change the loan structure,
Mm-hmm.
price change can change the loan structure. But if the conversation's not happening about how does this affect the buyer's monthly payment, how does this affect the buyer's cash to close, how
Mm-hmm.
does this maybe affect, their timing of when they can get in the home,
Yep.
you know, um, and those terms of financing and those terms of like I don't know what to say, emotional change.
Yeah.
you know, we want to have a direct line with the person that's negotiating too, so that we can say, hey, instead of asking for price reduction, ask for seller concessions. Or, hey, instead of doing this, do that, because that will be better for the buyer. And there are a lot of times when, like you said, email and text don't cut it. It has to be a phone call because there is a dialogue of like, hey, what are you thinking? This is what I'm recommending. What do you think about that? Because you want to be on the same page.
That's right. And if you're only communicating through text and email, which we also understand are very valuable forms of communication at
Right.
times, so we get that it's all encompassing.
Right.
But if you're only communicating that way, how do you truly know that we're meeting the expectations that you have? We have to know those expectations
Right.
that you have of us and that you have
Yeah.
of the process. I just killed my microphone there. I don't know if
You're good. Green.
So,
I think
but
that's good. I
yeah,
mean, I agree. I think that, realtors out there, shout out, we love realtors. You,
yes,
if a lender is trying to reach you, there's a good reason for
yeah,
it.
yeah,
If there's a live transaction going on, they're not
yes,
just trying to sell something. They're not just trying to ask you for coffee like 50 other lenders are trying to ask you for. But if there's a live transaction and a lender's calling you, it's to make a better scenario happen. Usually, like,
it's
hey,
to collaborate.
it's to
It's
collaborate.
to and to check in. How are
Right.
things going? Has anything changed since the last time we talked?
Right.
What is there that we need to be aware of that we can? Where can we step in and help make the agent's goal and our goal happen,
Mm-hmm.
which is meeting the goals of our clients, right?
Yeah.
So all we want to do is have our client have an amazing experience. And it really takes, I talked about this, it's the
Mm-hmm.
three legs of the stool. A stool
Right.
doesn't stand on two legs, right? You've got to have the tripod, you've got to have agent,
Yeah.
buyer, lender, and we've all got to be on the same page. And then there's, of course, other services that we need as well. Those are the three anchors
Yeah.
of the transaction.
So drama happens when there's not reciprocal communication, right? And so there are strange times when we just try to be as professional as possible. Realtors may not be able to call us back for whatever reason. Maybe they're even on vacation for that summer, on a family trip that they finally
Mm-hmm.
took because they've been waiting to take their family trip. We get it. Like, there's life. But if the buyer and the lender are talking and there's no realtor involvement, it can create frustrations. And we don't want that. We want to make sure that everyone's happy. So make sure that clear communication is happening, or vice versa. If the lender or the buyer and the realtor are talking and they
Right.
cannot get a hold of their lender, that's a nightmare.
Absolutely.
so,
Absolutely.
so that is
And
terrible.
we hear those stories all the time. In
Yeah.
fact, we had in the last 45 days, we have rescued 4 transactions from other banks
Right.
where the bank either overcommitted, couldn't deliver, or
Non-responsive.
they were non-responsive. That
Right.
that was definitely one of them where
Mhm.
they kept saying it'll be Monday, it'll be Monday, it'll be Wednesday, it'll be Friday, and strung our buyer along for about 3 weeks
Oh boy.
until he finally had to jump ship, and they never really gave him a firm answer of a yes or no. It was just this limbo stage,
Mm,
and that's not healthy. Like being in limbo,
right.
uncertainty is not healthy, right? We all have enough stresses in our life. Our job is to give you that clarity and
Yeah.
certainty and deliver what we promise. The thing is, we've got to know what's most important to you and to the agent and to the seller and to all
Right.
parties involved so we can meet and quarterback the financing piece
Yeah.
and help you achieve your goals.
Yeah, and let's talk about two topics that are about drama. One is professionalism, and another one is empathy. And I think they really they don't they're not synonymous at all. They're very different characteristics: professionalism and empathy. But when you combine the two, it creates a wonderful perspective on a situation.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've known you for 5 years now. And one thing I love about you is you don't throw people under the bus. You know, so we were talking about going to closings. In title companies, we love going to closings.
We do.
What I love about showing up at a closing is it's not common for lenders to show up at closings.
True.
And as a lender, I want to be at the closing because what I found out over years is whoever is not at the table and some challenge or some weird question comes up about things not being correct at closing, the person not at the table is the one that's the fault.
Right.
That's the one that gets thrown under the bus and driven over because they're not there.
Not
So
there
they
to defend
can't
themselves.
defend themselves. And so
Mm-hmm.
I go to all my closings now. Or someone from our team goes to our closing because we want to not only answer the questions that might come up. The last one was like, does this document really need to be signed? It doesn't look like it does. And I find the answer no, and you can throw that one away, like all the other documents do. So we're there to field some random questions, but we're also there to just bring professionalism and empathy. I love bringing, thank you cards or whatever it might be to people. Congratulations. Um, so professionalism, empathy. Don't throw anybody under the bus. That goes nowhere. You
Agreed.
know, um, I love knowing that if you're frustrated with somebody and you don't understand why they're doing it the way they're doing it, it's because there's a story you don't know about that person. Because every man is justified in their own mind, right? And so everyone has a reason for doing what they do for themselves, and we just don't know what that reason is. Now, they might be a bad egg. They might be really egotistical. They might have all these character flaws, but we don't want to assume that,
True.
right? Um, so that's professionalism, empathy to me is
Yeah,
just
I
keeping
read
your
a
head.
I read an amazing book. It's called The Four Agreements, and agreement number one. These are really to yourself, like
Yeah,
agreements to yourself and to other people, but is being impeccable with your word. That's really an impeccable, sort of synonymous with perfect. So be
right.
perfect with the words you say. That's really hard to do. It's really hard to do. And
Very
when
hard.
I was reading the book, what I really took away from that, honestly, was what we say to ourselves. Not necessarily what we're saying
It's a
outward,
big
but
one.
what we're saying inward, what we're
Yeah,
saying to our subconscious, right? And then the second was don't make assumptions.
don't make assumptions.
Don't make assumptions. And I
Yeah,
think we a lot of us make, you just touched on that, we make assumptions um, about what's going on, right? Or we assume that someone did say something or didn't say something or whatever. So this clear communication, this written communication after we've had the conversation to understand empathetically what someone's trying to accomplish,
hmm,
then having the clear communication in writing, it's like, oh cool, I got my roadmap now. These are the next three things I got to do, because we all have a million conversations. Then to remember what someone's told us, it's hard. Like,
yeah,
I mean, I think like just sitting in a classroom listening to someone lecture in the average brain absorbs like 10% of the information or something,
right.
10, 15%.
10%.
It's really hard to remember 100%. You're just, it's going to be, especially if it's not
Yeah,
something you do on a daily basis. So that was agreement number two, is don't make assumptions. The third one was do not take things personal.
that's a big one.
That's a big one too, because we all take certain things personal. So the the having making an assumption that can
Hmm.
then have us take something personal, like those can kind of go hand in hand.
Right.
And so I think there's a lot that we can do throughout the process to just say, okay, I'm not going to take this personal. Clients upset about something, or a seller's upset about because a closing got delayed, or whatever it is. It's like, let's take a step back, all get on the same team again, and make sure that we're moving towards a common goal, which is helping the seller, helping the buyer close on a home. Period.
So yeah, you
Yeah.
touched on being proactive about problem solving. So, there's obviously different responses you can have when a frustration or challenge comes up, right? You can complain about it, you can throw people under the bus, you can take your ball and go home. Um,
Right.
or you can be the adult in the room, and if the wind's blowing and shaking the thing, you can adjust the sails, you know, and you can go a different direction and pivot.
Mm-hmm.
So being the one that can problem solve and
Mm-hmm.
saying, okay, we have a challenge in front of us. What's the next step? What's the end goal? How do we get there? What is the way to get there?
Mm-hmm.
And so that is key for our
Yep.
industry, because we're the money that's coming to buy the house
Mm-hmm.
for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
On your behalf. And so as things arise, we don't ever want you to miss out on a home. And so let's find a way to get there. That's
That's
a
right.
big deal. Problem solving is huge.
Yeah. Problem solving is huge, which kind of leads into the fourth agreement, which is always do your best.
Always do your
So,
best.
being impeccable with your word, don't make assumptions,
Yeah.
don't take things personal, and then always do your best. And so I
Right.
think bringing that to the office every single day, the agreement number four, like bringing the best that we can do
Hmm.
every single day, that is what drives us. That
Right.
is what drives us. And I know there's a lot of great mortgage professionals out there. I know them all over the country, and it's a really interesting industry because you have the elite top performing companies and loan officer teams that have really been lifers and been doing this for a long time, and even some that have not been doing it but maybe 3 or 4 or 5 years. However, they're really excelled and they're at the top of their game and top of the
Yeah.
industry. And then, like any industry, you have kind of everybody else. And I don't mean that to be derogatory. You have folks that are literally taking orders over the phone and pushing buttons to kind of make things move forward, not really fully understanding what their clients are trying to accomplish, and not necessarily inserting themselves into your financial picture to achieve your goals. It's not about us. We're not doing loans for us. We're doing loans for you.
Yeah.
And so that really, I think for me, as I look across the landscape of the industry and how our industry's changed, that to me is what wakes me up in the morning, like bringing excellence to the industry so that we can educate, we can help, we can overcome challenges, and we can sometimes defy the odds with a client that really doesn't think they can qualify, and now they're holding the keys to their brand new home. And that is the most fulfilling thing. I'm telling you, I got this video from a client a couple weeks ago. The mom is a husband and wife, 2 kids, and they bought this amazing house. I think it was on about an acre, kind of more out in the country. Beautiful, brand new construction, beautiful home. And she told us she was going to do this at closing. They were so grateful. They videoed the kids running through the house. They
Oh my
did
gosh.
not tell their kids that they were buying a home because they had been, let's just say, it had been a journey for them to get to this point, and they didn't want to raise their kids' expectations or give them false hope
Right.
too early. So they did not say a word throughout the entire loan process. They close on the house, they get the keys, and she videoed the kids running through the house and running in the yard. I'm telling you
Oh gosh.
that's why we do
Teary
what we
eyed.
do. I
Yeah.
know, and it was a super powerful
Yeah.
moment. And so that's, I think, the message that we want to convey. Most of the transactions that happen out there are transactions. These are not transactions for us. These are relationships.
Yeah.
So we are building relationships to help you achieve your goals, and that's what drives us every day.
And that's a great pitch. So because the reality is, you and I have the same perspective of we don't want to be there for just a life event. We want to be there for a lifetime of events. We want to be available. I mean, I don't know how many times a week, you and I get phone calls and texts from our past clients asking questions about something, because we're your specialist for life, right? And so anything that has to do with housing related, feel free to reach out. But the other thing is using a local lender will, in my opinion, be way less drama than using a big box lender that's online, because you get that touch point, you get the way to talk to somebody to diffuse any kind of questions or frustrations you might have. You have a direct line of contact to somebody that cares about their reputation in their local neighborhoods. And that is huge.
It's huge.
If somebody actually cares about their reputation in their local neighborhoods and they're in this for the rest of their life, they're going to do anything they can to make sure your transaction is as good as possible.
That's right.
Other big box people, that value is not there. You're just a transaction. And so that motivation to make sure great customer service happens is huge for having less drama in your transaction.
Yeah.
Another thing you touched on was, as we go about closing loans and working with realtors, our long-term reputation of repeat business is so important to us.
Yes.
So that if you have a bad experience, we could have closed your loan on time. We could have, given you the lowest rate that anybody else quoted you. We might even been able to give you more concessions than somebody else might have quoted you, has less cash to close. If we did all those things, but you still had a bad experience emotionally with a lender, you go online, it's like, why did this person give you a 2-star review?
Mm-hmm.
We closed on time. They had the best rate. They had all this stuff. Well, it's because you weren't communicating clearly. You were not problem solving. You had no empathy, or you were very unprofessional. The opposite of what we just said. So even if you just answer all the terms, you can still have a bad experience if you're not using somebody that cares about their reputation.
Yeah, we have it on the wall in our conference room.
Yeah.
People do not care how much you know until they know how much you care. Period.
Yeah.
Right. So understanding that we're on the same team and we are here for you long term. I love how you said not just for a life event, but for a lifetime of events. I think
that's a good one. I like that.
Yeah, it's a great one. And so that just really circles back to that trust, right? That
Yeah.
first conversation, building trust, building a relationship. And hey, we may not be the right fit. And if we're
Hmm.
not, that's okay. But I love what you said. Like, you still use a local lender. I've got some great buddies in this
Right.
town that if I couldn't do my own loan, I would call that person,
Yeah.
that I would trust. So there's a lot of really good professionals in the Austin area. And that's what we're really saying is find that connection, find that, build your team, right? If you're starting this home buyer
Yeah.
journey, find that agent that you trust and you can work with, find the lender that you trust and you can work with. Let's build a roadmap, not just for this next house or the first house, but for the next 10, 15, 20 years plus
Hmm.
of helping you through your financial journey and building wealth through real estate that we've touched on before, and how you can compound your wealth through real estate and
Yeah.
not paying rent.
And I think you talked about that team approach. That's, we I know we talked about it already, but I'm going to talk about it again because I think it's important. So if you're looking to buy a home, imagine this. You have a realtor or a lender that has already their favorite team around them.
Yeah.
And they have closed multiple deals together
Mm-hmm.
already. So the realtor and lender have already worked together many times and they trust each other.
Mm-hmm.
They may even have a great homeowners insurance person that has all kinds of flexible options to, put a scenario together that's the best scenario for the buyer as well, because every scenario is different and every price is different, on a home, on homeowners insurance, on a loan. Like they all vary. And so if you got a great team that is used to working together, closing loans on time with less drama, and has that communication channel already highly established where that they're accessible to each other instantly, that's going to be a winning combination for
Yeah.
less drama, is
Yeah.
having that home purchase team together.
Yeah. That's so true. I think about how many moving parts. It reminds me
Right.
of the movie. Did you ever see Armageddon? Old movie, right?
The one where they go to
Ben
the
Affleck.
asteroid.
Yeah. Bruce Willis. Okay.
Yeah.
So
It's a
do you
fun
remember
action
the? Do
movie.
you remember? It is a fun action movie. It like never ends though. I feel like it just
Yeah.
keeps like you think it's over, but
Is
it's
that
not.
Buscemi that's in that one?
Bruce Willis and Ben
With the
Affleck,
crazy
right?
eyes.
Oh yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
he's funny.
So, in fact, I think that's the character in the scene where they're on the rocket about to get launched, and they're sitting there, and he looks over at the next astronaut next to him and says, "Do you realize that this rocket has 2 million moving parts and was built by the company with the lowest bid?"
Yeah.
And that just cracks me up. I think that's what our industry does a lot of times is
Right.
our consumers out there, and we're consumers too, right? We're like shopping for the lowest price or we're shopping for the best
Hmm.
deal, and then you realize that there's 2 million moving parts to a mortgage, and the company with the lowest bid isn't always going to get you to the finish line. That's
No.
the bottom line. So be leery of those. That's why we really stress local lenders, and I really believe if you talk to any agent who does a high volume, they will tell you there's a lot of merit and a lot of value
Hmm.
in using a local lender who knows the market and understands the process to get you to your goals.
Good.
So
Yep. So local lender, professional, empathetic, clear communication, accessible, a lot less
problem solving,
drama.
yeah,
Problem solving, a lot less
proactive
drama.
problem solving.
I like
That's
it.
right. Yep.
Want to close this
So
out?
let's close this out. Yeah, I think that was good. I mean, there's certainly going to be more follow ups to this. We welcome your comments, feedback, questions, and really appreciate the opportunity to bring you this on a weekly basis. And really hope it adds some value to you. And if you have questions, we're here for you.
Thank you so much for listening to the Lending Podcast. Please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much. Have a great
Thanks.
day.
See you next time.
Bye.